right, guys, today we're talking 20 plus VGT 6.7 Powerstroke turbochargers. To my left here is our new Strike HO Turbo. So let's dive into it. All right, guys, so today, 2020 plus 6.7 Powerstroke VGT turbos. That's what we're talking about. So to my right here, I have a factory 20 plus 6.7 turbo. This one specifically is the 23 and up HO turbo. We'll walk through some of the differences in the turbos versus the earlier models. These are a Borg-Warner based turbo. It is a VGT still, but it is made by Borg. It has a mechanical or external VGT actuator on it. The 23 HO versions have coolant in the compressor cover. They all are a ball bearing turbo, whether it's a standard output or high output. But the biggest difference is Borg-Warner, ball bearing, back to an external style VGT. Similar, if you're a 6.4 Powerstroke guy, it's similar to the 2008, 2010 actuators on those turbos. So pretty reliable setup. Obviously the higher output model, the 6.7, you have coolant that's going through the compressor cover itself. So there's been a lot of talk on the internet about it. A lot of people throwing out their ideas of why they did it and whatnot. I did talk to a few engineers about it. The cool thing is Borg is usually not too secretive on stuff, and one of the major reasons was controlling thermal expansion. Basically, if you want to talk temperatures on turbos real quick, on the compressor housing outlet for the hot side, feeding the intercooler, you're going to see up to 400 plus degree temperatures coming out of this housing. What Ford figured and other companies have done in the past is that if they pump coolant through the compressor housing, a cast housing will not expand at such a high rate. So if you're talking compressor wheel clearance versus compressor housing clearance, you have a forged compressor wheel versus a cast housing. So the cast housing is going to expand a lot quicker. You're going to lose tolerance easier and basically change your map curve of the compressor wheel. So by keeping everything in heat check and basically controlling all the thermal expansion the best they can, it makes the turbo more efficient. It makes it last longer. It helps everything from cool down when you shut the engine off to just the longevity itself, as far as like the bearing seeing a little bit less heat, etc. So that was the main purpose of it. It is in the secondary cooling system of the 6.7 Powerstroke. Obviously, to my left here is our version of this turbocharger. We're the first to market with an aftermarket turbocharger utilizing the same kind of technology. And we knew if we were doing that, we had to hit it spot on. We've had this turbo in testing literally since the end of 23. So you do the math. We've been testing it for a while. We love it. We've driven it a lot. Gutted the factory turbo. We went through it front to back, figured out every single thing about it that we did not like and the things that we did like. So I'd like to go over some of that stuff. One of the major things that we dislike about the factory turbochargers, and this is mostly a manufacturing issue, is they like to do machined passages and utilize press-in balls to close that passage off. For the reasoning behind it, as far as what they're doing, it works fine, and if it's done properly every time, it has no issue. The problem is when you're manufacturing something like that, especially in a center section that sees a lot of heat, vibration, if you're off on that press fit at all, you could have coolant leak, oil leak, whatever that passage may be tapped into. So something we learned early on when we were doing all development, even in prior turbos, is that we did not like the press-in ball. It's just an area that we know can fail, because if you have an end mill that's worn out and you're going back in there and you're machining that housing, it's a casting, so there's porosity in them. And if you have a bit that's worn and you're blowing through that, I mean, there's a good possibility that tolerance can be off. So when you press it in, you could potentially have a leak, especially in high volume situations. Our plugs, what we like to do is we will actually, in most of the machine passages, we'll thread them and make it basically a sealed fitting. So we don't have to worry about ever having a tolerance issue or something like that. You have threads, a seal, it's easy. So doesn't take that much more time. We're not making the same type of volume that Ford is, you know, pumping out thousands upon thousands of trucks. We're not doing that. We can hold a tighter tolerance on our manufacturing processes. It's not hard to do. So one of the main things was on the turbine side. Obviously, we have a separate vane cage in the housing, and it's actuated externally with a external mounted electronic actuator. It's not oil controlled like the previous trucks. It's electronic now. So in the back of this turbine housing, you'll see after the outlet side of the turbine, there's a pocket around the outer diameter of the turbine itself. So everybody knows if you're blowing through a pipe or something like that and you're adding basically pockets or areas to catch air, you're gonna get turbulent air. So you wanna get that air out of there. You wanna get your exhaust out of the back of the turbine housing as fast as possible so that you have less restriction and it stays efficient. So we changed how we actually cast the housing. So when we did all the mold design work, what we did is we actually removed that pocket entirely. So it takes, once again, it takes a little bit more time to iron out the molds, the housing stuff, because of how you have to cast it. But what we did is we removed that pocket. It's a straight outlet now. There's nothing in the way there. There's nothing turbulent about it. And the other nice thing how we did it is we actually add a little bit of meat to that and get the diameter of this nice to where if we want to do a larger turbine later on, or we want to change this turbo up at all, we actually have the ability to do that. So that leaves us a lot of room to move around. One of the downsides to the factory turbo is they're really good from an emission standpoint because they keep that back pressure nice and high, and it allows the EGR system to work really well, but it's excessive, it's not necessary. So what we do is we recontour the turbine to alleviate some of that back pressure. Everything still works right, everything's still happy, you don't have any issues by it other than the fact that the turbo is now more efficient. So when we look at things, we're always looking at it from the perspective of we're trying to make it perform better. So we're trying to make it seamless, drivable. We basically want more performance with no downsides. So anytime that we can increase performance or efficiency, we're gonna do that. So one of the first things we looked at was, obviously we're running coolant through this housing. We're trying to thermally cool it. On the factory one, you can notice the passage is a lot smaller than ours. So the main concern there was we have all this extra space. Why are we not utilizing it? We're already pumping coolant through the housing. Let's tighten that tolerance up even more. Let's get it under as much control as we possibly can. So what we did immediately was when we did the mold design and everything for this housing, we gave it as much capacity as we could. We weren't worried about the coolant capacity of the truck like Ford and worried about spending a couple extra dollars on the actual coolant cost of manufacturing the truck. So a little bit more coolant in the system. And the other nice thing is we remove the freeze plug from the bottom of the casting here and go to, like I said, the actual screw-in plug that we like to use. You can clearly see the compressor wheel is bigger. It is a forged billet compressor wheel. It's a machine from a solid. So that in itself makes that wheel change thermally a lot less than say a cast forged wheel. So once again, we're even able to hold a tighter tolerance, and thermally this turbo is going to be so efficient on the compressor side now because of its design and because of being able to hold that tight tolerance and keep everything under control. Another thing on the compressor side is obviously we're removing some of the shrouding. So, you know, onto the noise thing, you know, everybody talks about, oh, how much louder is it? You know, you got some customers that want something quiet and some customers that want it to sound like a jet engine. So we try to meet in the middle. We obviously don't have silencer rings in it. We want the map width groove, which is this opening that meets the compressor wheel about midway in. There's a little groove in there. We want to feed as much air to that so we can make the compressor map as wide and usable as possible. So we don't have a silencer ring, and obviously we want to feed the compressor wheel the best we can to make it as efficient as we can. So That's why the inlet's bigger. It still hooks up to a factory tube. There's no change there. Everything slips right back together like factory. The other thing that we don't do is change the turbine in the aspect of knocking all the blades off of it and making it whistle and having some piece of shit turbine that's not going to work well because it sounds cool. It's a stupid, that's not how we build our turbos, and we're not going to build our turbos that way. We want them to be efficient. We want them to work and drive like factory, but have more performance and more capability. So that's what we're always aiming for. Nothing more, nothing less. So all factory hookups as far as the VGT actuators, coolant lines, the pedestal, you know, it's a 100% drop-in turbo. This turbo does not require tuning from the aspect of, you know, say you're putting a bigger turbo in, and some of these other companies will require tuning because it's laggier and you want to run the vane operation a little bit differently to try to combat that. We're not doing that. You know, our aspect of it is if you can't put it in the truck, especially if it's a factory style turbo, it needs to be drop in and you need to be able to hit the key and drive away. So the only other thing we are going to talk about as far as that stuff goes is the actuator. So if you have a 20 plus truck, the actuator will come off your factory turbo, go right on this one and hook up just like stock. The downside to it is sometimes even in Ford application, like going to say a replacement Ford turbo, it may be necessary to recalibrate the VGT system. You can do that with most scan tools. It's a pretty simple process. Most of the time it's taken care of with just a couple key cycles. So not a big deal. Just wanted to throw that out there. So as far as turbos go, if you have a 20 plus truck, this HO version turbo will drop into that truck. Now, being that we're talking about the secondary cooling system, obviously you have these ports out here that now need coolant. So if you're putting it in an HO truck, it's going to be drop in, hook up your factory lines, you're ready to go. If you're putting it in a 20 plus truck, we're going to have another video on this, but if you're putting it in a 20 plus truck, so we're going to come out with a setup, and it's basically a retrofit. And it's going to have all of the adapter fittings, hoses, quick connects to tap the turbo into the secondary system. So then you can put this on a non-HO setup from 2020 to current, put the turbo right in, put the line kit on it, and you're ready to go. You're functioning just like a factory HO truck. Now, we're going to have an AN style kit, and then we also have a replacement style stainless steel tubes that go in just like the factory steel tubes did on the factory HO trucks. So some customers may decide that they want to run a factory line set. That's no problem. You can do that. We even offer these, so you don't have to get the steel ones. You could get upgraded stainless, or you can just upgrade the factory HO truck to these. But we'll have a little bit more on this kit soon so that all you guys can convert over to the HO style turbo. We do not recommend putting the turbo on the truck and running it without coolant because it is designed around that and to function in that manner. So horsepower ranges is another question I'm sure you guys are going to be asking. We're no problem going 600, 650 plus horsepower with this turbo. So 600 horsepower is not an issue. The nice thing about it is you can get to that power level and still have full functioning exhaust brake, drivability, you know, everything's still as factory. You just have more power potential. So as far as noise goes, the turbo's very mild. You can obviously tell the truck has a turbo on it. It makes it a little bit deeper on the intake side, but it sounds really cool in my opinion.
That's the first time I've ever seen somebody drift a 450.
This is our Strike HO 62 mil drop-in turbo for the 20 plus 6.7 Powerstroke. If you guys have questions on it that I didn't answer, put it in the comment, email us, call us, whatever it may be. Let us know. We'd be more than happy to help you with anything, any question that you have. We like the constructive criticism. Let us know what you think. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you on the next one.